Hey guys, in this week's episode, we are talking about David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future. But before that, we are talking about Cha-Cha Real Smooth, Jurassic World, Dominion, and The Worst Person in the World. So, join us!
Hello and welcome to the Casual Cinecast powered by Cinelinx. My name is Justin, and with me as always is a man who has got a strange craving for plastic trash cans. Mike, how are you?
Good, they just look so delicious.
Don't they? That was my favorite part of the movie. It just made me hungry.
Yeah? Well, good thing it happened early. Mm-hmm. And then I imagine you probably were just coasting on that for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I was really riding that high.
If this is your first time listening, normally we like to start off every episode in a section called News on the March, where we talk about film and TV news, or usually, and more accurately, just the movies and TV that we specifically have been watching. Then move into the feature review, and this week we are discussing David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future.
That's right, and here on the Casual Cinecast, every other episode, or just about every other episode, we put out a Casually Criterion episode. In these episodes, listeners choose a film from the Criterion Collection for us to review by voting in a poll that we put out on our Twitter account. So look forward to our next Criterion poll, our next episode, which actually we didn't do a poll for, but it's going to be 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days. And then also go and check out our latest episode, which was on another David Cronenberg film, Crash, and plenty of other Criterion Collection content in our back catalog.
Yeah, it's the summer of Cronenberg here on the Casual Cinecast.
Yeah, apparently that's what a director to dive into during the summer. It's like two peas in a pod, David Cronenberg in summer.
Yeah, and you mentioned that we did not do a poll last week. If any of you have seen 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, and know what's going on with the United States of America right now, you'll know why we didn't do a poll.
Yeah, well, we just decided we're doing that one because we need to.
It's a relevant one to do. Yeah, it's timely.
Yeah. And for future polls, like I said, we put them on our Twitter account. You can follow us there at Casual Cinecast. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Casual Cinecast. But the best place to follow us is Twitter. That's where we're the most active. That's where the polls are, as I said.
And it's the only place I'm active on social media. Not the best place, the only place.
Yeah. It's probably my most active.
Yeah, even though it depresses me, and I don't know why I do it every time I get on there.
Me neither. But if you want to avoid social media, you can email us at casualcinemedia@gmail.com. That way you don't have to download Twitter or get on any social media apps and keep your life quality improved. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if you haven't done so already, you like the show, you want to help other people find it, go onto iTunes, go onto whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, give us a like, a subscribe, a 10-star rating, all of that mess.
Yeah, the whole gambit. Yeah, what is that? The whole gambit, is that right?
I don't know.
Is that an expression?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I messed it up either way, but
yeah. All good expressions should be questioned to make sure that they make sense. That's how you know it's a good one.
but probably not right after you made them. Recording live. All right. And with that, I think it's time to get into news on the march.
I think you're right.
All right, let's go.
News on the march!
All right, sir. Thanks for joining me here. I believe the first thing on the schedule for us to discuss is something that you watched recently. Tell us about it. Where'd you watch it at?
Well, I watched it on Apple TV, and it was recommended to me by a friend of the show and former occasional guest, Matt Ward.
Oh, yes, Matt.
Yeah, I think he saw this film at like the virtual Tribeca Film Festival or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, it's pretty new. I didn't realize it was already available on streaming.
Yeah, I'm not sure it had much of a theatrical release. I think it just went straight to Apple TV. But without further ado, the film is Cha-Cha Real Smooth, which is I'd seen the name of the film, but I was like, what is this movie even about? Because that's a weird title.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, let me tell you.
Okay.
It's about a young guy. He's just graduated college. It's a coming of age sort of indie comedy, which is, if you're a long time listener to the show, that is my bread and butter, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's a young guy. He's just graduated college. He's living at home and kind of trying to figure out what he's going to do. And he kind of stumbles into this gig. He is kind of ingrained in the Jewish community, and there's a lot of bat mitzvahs going on, and he gets kind of roped into this role. It's called a jig conductor. That's what he calls himself in the movie. But he basically makes sure that parties and bar mitzvahs just kind of go off and get hype, gets everyone on the dance floor, gets everyone partying.
Yeah.
And he meets a young mother played by Dakota Johnson, who has an autistic daughter.
See, I actually kind of have heard of this movie, but I always thought Dakota Johnson was the main character, so that's how little I knew.
Yeah. She's probably the second main character, I guess, the second lead. She's second billed on IMDb, so there you go.
Yeah.
And first billed is Cooper Raiff, who is also the writer-director of this film. And I don't know if you saw this film, but it was recommended a couple of years ago by Chris. He also did Shithouse.
Yes, I remember Chris told me to watch that and told you as well, and then I didn't.
I never did, but now that I've seen this movie, I really want to go watch Shithouse because I thought this movie was really good. I don't know if it's like a perfect movie or maybe like great, but it's pretty charming, pretty enjoyable. I thought the performances were mostly really good. All the leads are fantastic. And I think it's a really great coming of age movie. It's a really, really funny at times and really, really moving. Which,
yeah.
I mean, that's like indie comedy drama.
What's the tone here? Are we thinking like of coming of age movies? Are we talking like, I don't know. Give me an example. Throw me out. What is this movie a mix between? Two movies. Go.
I think this movie, it's a mix between like, I would say a Judd Apatow film
okay.
in terms of like kind of like the realness of it. And maybe I'm thinking of Judd Apatow though because Leslie Mann plays the mom.
Yeah.
And she's just doing her normal Leslie Mann like charming thing.
Sure.
It's difficult. Like I guess maybe it's like a bit like a Woody Allen film, minus like the neuroses and a character being a surrogate Woody Allen, because this guy's like just really confident and charming. And I don't know if I have another cross. Like it's really difficult to like place it in amongst other movies off the top of my head.
All right.
Which I think that's just because it just feels kind of like its own thing. I don't know that I've seen a character quite like this main character. He's like really, really charming to the point where like a couple times in the movie, I was like, is he flirting with his mother and his stepfather? Or is he just like, that's just his charisma and his charm? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's a little off-putting, but I think you would like this movie.
Yeah. It sounds like maybe Woody Allen meets Red Rocket based on what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's for the most part, a good deal lighter than Red Rocket.
Sure.
Doesn't quite go there.
Sure.
I don't know that it's made with quite the same amount of vision or like unique characteristics as something like Red Rocket either.
Yeah. So it's not quite filmed as interestingly.
No, I don't think so. Like it tells the story well, but it's not hitting you with any sort of like, wow, look at these shots. Like, look at the cinematography. It's like none of that really kind of stands out. It just is what it is. A bit like Woody Allen.
Yeah. So is it like a rom-com essentially?
Yeah, I would say rom-com, but it definitely gets emotional and has those dramatic elements to it that I think feel good and keep it from feeling like silly.
Did you ever see that movie Don John with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Scarlett Johansson?
No, I know the movie, but I haven't seen it.
What you're describing sounds a little bit like that, except because that character is like super confident, like super like dude broy.
Yeah.
And he kind of has to like let a girl that he likes make him cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. This guy's not too dude bro. I think he's pretty likable, but I could be wrong.
All right.
Like likable from the word go. Like if anything, without getting too deep in the weeds, like maybe he's too likable to the point where
like a real Jim from The Office situation.
Yeah, where like his flaws didn't really exist, and when they did show up, it was there to like.
So he wouldn't be perfect. So they have something to do and act to.
For him to have like an arc or like have emotional moments, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly how everything Jim does in The Office is. It's
like it wasn't anything unlikable.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
okay,
that made you like feel conflicted in any way, in my opinion.
All right, cool.
But anyways, watch it, check it out, let me know.
Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Well, I can't because I canceled Apple TV.
Oh. Well,
I mean, I'll start it back up again someday, but I just wasn't watching it, you know?
Yeah, same. I think I just started a free thing, I think, through like my T-Mobile plan. I think they offered like a year.
Yeah, did you get a new phone?
My wife did. Maybe that's why they offered it. I don't know.
You get a free year when you get a new Apple device. That's how I initially signed up and then just didn't cancel for a year and then realized that I only watched like one thing that whole year.
Was it Ted Lasso?
Yeah, it was Ted Lasso. I think maybe a movie, like a Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah, I think with mine, because I was paying for it for a little bit. I've watched Ted Lasso and Severance, and then
Severance. Movie. I watched that. I forgot, but I watched that all in a week, so I kind of forgot that was Apple TV.
Gotcha.
But like I said, I'll start it back up again. Severance is coming back one day.
Yeah, it will. There's season 2.
I've heard From All Mankind is really good.
Me too. I've heard that's good. I've heard the what's the other show from the guy that did After Yang? Pachinko, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, Chris was telling us about that show.
I've heard that's good as well. But anyways, we can move on because my IMDb page for Cha-Cha Real Smooth has moved on from like the autoplay trailer to like a 50 Shades movie, and it's freaking me out.
It's getting that Dakota Johnson traffic. Okay.
Yeah. So moving on.
All right.
I think you have the next thing that you've seen. So tell us all about it.
Sure. So this is the 6th film in an ongoing franchise where only about 1.5 good movies exist. And I am, of course, talking about the movie that was released last month and has long since been out of the conversation and no one cares about it. Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah. Was it ever in the conversation? Like the only thing I've really heard about this movie is people making fun of Chris Pratt holding his hand out to control all dinosaurs.
He does so much hand holding out in this. To every dinosaur you meet, if you don't want them to attack you right away, you just gotta bend your knees and stick your hand out in front of them.
Yeah. For better or worse,
what to make of that.
Yeah, for better or worse, that's the only thing I've heard anyone say about this movie. So not a lick of this movie has been spoiled at all. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the thing. I'm not going to mince words. This movie is not good. I didn't like it at all. But I really honestly don't like getting on there and just bashing stuff. Like, I don't like recording that kind of content. But so I'll keep it brief and I'll try to keep it fair. But man, you saw Fallen Kingdom. We reviewed it here.
Mm-hmm.
It might be better than that one. Yeah. But if it is, it's not much.
Yeah, a bit of a low bar.
It's the lowest of bars for a big summer blockbuster, in my opinion. Man, nothing about this movie works. They double down on everything that doesn't work about the previous 2 Jurassic World movies, which is Chris Pratt and that stupid relationship with a stupid raptor. And the little clone girl from the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom movie. Spoilers for that movie. There's the little clone girl. And man, it sucks. Like they make that the heart and soul, or they're trying to make those 2 characters like the heart and soul of the movie. And man, it does not work. Basically, like after the end of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the dinosaurs are out, and you think, okay, we're going to be, following a bunch of like dinosaur hijinks throughout the movie. And they'll be like everywhere. And that's what the movie's going to be. And there is some of that in the movie, But then the, I don't know, like I get like the main like problem they're trying to solve are like genetically mutated locusts. They're like destroying the world's food supply.
Okay.
And that got a lot of crap from people last month whenever this movie came out. And I will defend that element of it. I don't think that that's necessarily like a bad MacGuffin or whatever to have the movie be about. You know, because how do you get all your characters around like trying to deal with dinosaurs out in the world? The dinosaurs are just going to spread and be everywhere, you know? So you have to give them like a villain and element to like gather around so all these characters can be doing something.
Yeah.
I understand that. But man, this movie doesn't even seem to revel in the old characters showing up. Like they show up and the only one that's looked like they're having a good time is Laura Dern. Like Sam Neill looks like he's happy to be there, but like there's no, I don't know, like Laura Dern shows up and he's like a bumbling teenager who's nervous to see her and like can't form his words right.
Right.
You know, and like, I don't know, Jeff Goldblum's just doing the Jeff Goldblum thing even harder.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems so soulless and I don't know. It's hard, right? Because it's like Jurassic World was okay, I thought.
Yeah, it was fine. I liked it okay enough.
Yeah, you liked it more than I did, and I liked it okay. You know, it was better than Jurassic Park 3, in my opinion. I still think Jurassic World, or wait,
The
Lost World, Jurassic Park 2. These titles, man. I think Lost World, Jurassic Park 2 is like the best sequel, while still not being a good movie.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
It's got the best set pieces, right? That trailer hanging over the cliff. Well, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know. This movie is just so incredibly disappointing. And I don't know, like all the characters are just so one note and yeah, I don't know. I feel like Colin Trevorrow just doesn't really have a grasp on like what people enjoyed about Jurassic World, the first one. And he just kind of doubled down on all the elements that didn't work.
Right. Are there any good like set pieces, action pieces, you know, because there was that short that came out a while back.
With the family, like in the woods.
Yeah, and that was kind of fun, regardless of whether or not we got any, you know, major characters or emotional people involved. That was just fun. Is there anything like that?
Yeah, no, there's not.
Bummer.
That short is so much better than this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem is because it's like, yeah, the plot's about locusts and they're breaking into labs and trying to figure out why the locusts are doing this and how they can stop them. And they bring back characters from the first one. Like, do you remember the scene in the first one whenever that dude approaches Dennis Nedry and he's like, we got Dotson here.
Yeah, Dotson.
Yeah, Dotson. He's in it. He's the main villain. I don't know if it's a spoiler to say that, but whatever. He's the villain.
I don't know. That's cool.
Yeah, and you think that's going to be cool. You're like, oh, Dotson, they're going to tie into like some Jurassic Park lore. This is going to be like the end game of Jurassic World movies or Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah, it's like certain people coming back in Rise of the Skywalker.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It just completely just doesn't capture any of that magic that the first 1.5 movies did, I think. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't like hurting on movies because I know a lot of people like these movies. You know, like I talked to people at work who saw this and they said it's okay. Right. So I think with like average Joe movie watcher, you know, there's something here to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just a jaded movie snob. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure I've heard a stronger reaction to any of these Jurassic World movies than that, right? Than like, it was okay. That's like the best. I don't know if I've heard, you know, even the most like average Joe of movie watchers say anything remotely close to like, it was really good. Or I had a great time.
I remember whenever I went to like work and then I was talking to this guy about it, and he took his sons to see it, and he was like, it was okay. And I was like, yeah, but like, I don't know. That whole plot with the clone girl, and he's like, oh yeah, that was boring. So I don't know. Like, even I think someone who endorses this movie, I think recognizes that it's kind of a mess, and they're trying to make you care about things that it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, well. I'll watch it at some point, but...
Yeah, like, I don't know. If you like Fallen Kingdom, like, if you watched Fallen Kingdom and walked away from that movie not thinking it was bad, then,
maybe
then you might like this movie.
Yeah.
And I hope you do.
Yeah. I hope everybody who watches this movie absolutely loves it.
Yeah, I would love to love more Jurassic Park / World movies.
Yeah. Same.
All right. Well, anyway, that's it. Jurassic World Dominion. It's bad.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about a movie that's, I'm guessing, I haven't seen Jurassic World Dominion, but I'm guessing this movie is better?
Yes, let's do that.
Cool.
Let's let you kick it off because I feel like I just talked a bunch.
Yeah, you did. Not in a bad way. Just the nature of podcasting. You talked about.
Indeed.
Yeah. But anyways, so this movie is one that we have both seen. It's been on my radar. I assume both of our radars for a long time. And I think it was a 2021 movie, but it didn't really come out here in the US until 22.
Yeah, it's one of those things where whenever we were trying to do our best of the year episode, I really wanted to try to squeeze this one in because I thought, man, if I see this, there's a really good chance, I think, that it'll be on my top 10. And it probably would have, spoiler alert.
Yeah, but the movie we're talking about is Joachim Trier's The Worst Person in the World.
Yeah. And part of the reason I didn't want to see this movie is because I was convinced that she was going to be much worse based on that title. And I didn't want to be depressed.
Yeah, I kind of expected a more gritty, more extreme version of like Fleabag.
Yeah, I was expecting something like Fleabag or, I don't know, something where she was breaking hearts and just kind of being shitty and not learning her lesson. And maybe there's some of that in this movie, but she's not nearly as bad as the title would have you believe.
Yeah, and I mean, for my money, and I don't know if this really gets into spoilers, but, we're always harsher on ourselves, right? And maybe the title is a reflection of
how she feels.
How she feels, yeah, more than how she, genuinely, objectively is.
Sure.
But this movie, for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's just about a young woman who's, going through her life, falling in and out of love, kind of trying to figure out her place in life. That's kind of my read on it. And
yeah, switching careers all the time.
Yeah. It's a bit of a coming of age indie dramedy, which we've already established I like.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like this movie a lot. I thought it was really, really good. I think it would have been in contention for around the 7 to 10 spots on my best of last year if I'd seen it in time and been able to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But it might also not have outgone. I'd have to go back and check it against my best of 21, but it'd be close. I liked it a lot, but I didn't love it as much as I hoped I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know how much. I don't want to rate it based on memory, but I feel like it would have been comfortably in my top 10. And yeah, I responded to this movie quite a bit. There's even one scene that made me very emotional and made me tear up. Mm-hmm. Where one character gives her a very long monologue about what his life has amounted to up to this point. And given the context of what's going on in the movie, that scene is very poignant and sad and relatable. Yeah. And it's just great performances all around. I think there are 3 actors in this who get prominent screen time who are just given stellar performances all around here.
It's great, in terms of just a movie to see just incredible, great acting.
Yeah, yeah, and I hesitate to even try to pronounce these names, but the main girl, Renate Rinsv? Rinsva? Yeah. Well, she's great. She's going to be popping up in a lot of stuff soon. Anders Danielsen Lai?
Yeah.
He's already going to be popping up and stuff. And Herbert Nordrum.
Yeah.
All of these performers are great. And, none of them are overly beautiful. They all just kind of look like normal people.
Mm-hmm.
And they have normal conversations about growing up and being in love and being in a long-term relationship and meeting their family and whether or not you want to start having kids, like all this stuff that if anyone who's been in a relationship for more than like, a year or two is going to, or at least going to have these thoughts, and like this movie is very much about this girl who is just got so many options available at her fingertips, both career-wise and romantically, that it's like, how do you choose? How do you know you're in the right place, when there's so much world out there to offer?
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, which is, definitely a thing that I think is, I assume, super relatable to everybody, Yeah,
at least at a certain age, for sure. Like, I think this movie starts and she's like just about to turn 30, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Or she turns 30 sometime during the movie.
Something like that, yeah. I did watch this a few weeks ago, so we're just kind of like catching up to it.
Right.
But that sounds right. I think she's about late 20s. They're about 30. Which is, that's the time. That's the time when that happens, in my experience, is when you're like, what am I doing? Is this...
Yeah, am I wasting time?
Is this correct?
Yeah.
But
yep.
Not to like make this comparison again, but and it's not like intentional to put the two movies that feel like this to me, but this felt like Woody Allen movies like in his prime. But
you and your Woody Allen.
I know. But
it's 2022, man. We have to keep tap dancing around the problematic person that is Woody Allen.
Yeah. But I feel like if Woody Allen had like more depth and more important things to say.
Yeah. Woody Allen's one of those people where it's like, I feel like you can watch a lot of his movies and be like, that one's really good. That one's really good. But then the more you watch, the more you realize he's juggling like the same 5 plots over and over and over again.
Yeah.
For like 50 movies.
Yeah. And I think this is, better, more deeper version of some of his more well-received movies like Manhattan or Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Right.
Or like Hannah and Her Sisters, where it's like a little bit more serious, but I think this is quite a bit better. It feels, I think the main character isn't like a Woody Allen surrogate, which is kind of
that helps.
That helps initially.
Yeah. Being someone who's not annoying and unlikable.
Yeah. Yeah. Because she's quite likable. I feel for her. Like we said earlier, I thought this is okay. Here's a challenging movie where I'm going to like struggle to like this person.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what surprised me the whole time, which is like she does a lot of the things that I was initially turned off by and didn't want to watch because I thought it might be depressing. Yeah. But it's not depressing in the way it's handled because I feel like she beats herself up about it way more than I do. So,
yeah.
And I feel like she learns a lot, and she actually does come of age during the course of this. And the last act of this movie I found to be very bittersweet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, without spoiling it. We would have to go into it, but I agree. It was really good. That like once we got into there, I was like really, really, really glued.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, recommended. I watched this on Hulu. You can find a very nice quality version of this on Hulu. So that's what I recommend doing.
Yeah. Yeah, watch it legally.
Yes. Plus the subtitles would be more accurate if you do that.
That's true.
Assuming that you are like me and have to watch it with subtitles. Anything else you want to say about the worst person in the world?
Nope, I don't think so. I think we've hit it all.
Yeah. All right. Now let's get into the feel-good movie of the summer.
I can feel you pulling things around in there.
It's a brand new organ. Never before seen.
The world is a much more dangerous place now that pain has all but disappeared.
it?
You know it is. Surgery is the new sex.
They don't like what's happening with the body. In particular, what's happening with my body. Which is why I keep cutting it up.
All right, so as always with our newer films, we will be doing a spoiler-free section up front. We'll talk kind of generally about Cronenberg and Crimes of the Future without getting into any spoilery details or any spoilers at all. Before we do, we'll give you a warning. We'll play a bumper, we'll give you a spoiler alert, so that you have plenty of time to pause the podcast, go watch Crimes of the Future, and come back and finish listening.
That's right. So, Crimes of the Future was directed by David Cronenberg. It stars Viggo Mortensen, Léa Seydoux, and Kristen Stewart. The IMDb synopsis says, humans adapt to a synthetic environment with new transformations and mutations. With his partner Caprice, Saul Tinser, celebrity performance artist, publicly showcases his metamorphosis of his organs in avant-garde performances.
That's right. And a mouthful with a lot of words there.
Yeah.
You did well.
That is an accurate synopsis, I suppose. And I feel like doesn't really spoil a whole lot.
Not at all. Like, some of the things in here, I was like, well, that doesn't seem as important. But
No.
maybe that's just me.
No, yeah, I agree with that. But anyways, I guess I will kick us off.
Okay.
All right, so David Cronenberg is a director. We talked about him last week, and we've talked about him on our episode of Dead Ringers. Go back in the Casually Criterion backlog. Mm-hmm. But David Cronenberg is a director that I have sort of a hit and miss relationship with. The films I like, I enjoy quite a bit. I think there's a lot to really enjoy there. I like A History of Violence and The Fly the most of his. I like Eastern Promises. Scanners is pretty fun. But then, sometimes you'll have something like Naked Lunch, which I don't like, or something I'm kind of middle in the road on, like Crash, not to spoil our episode on that. But usually, even when I don't like his movies, I really appreciate what he's going for. I mean, he's a guy with a unique vision and a unique
absolutely.
talent. And I always will take a weird Cronenberg movie that maybe doesn't hit all the time versus, I don't know, another Marvel movie or whatever, right? If there's only so much money to go around and so much cinema to be had in a year, I would rather people like Cronenberg keep doing their thing.
Yeah.
So when Crimes of the Future was coming out, I was excited, it seemed like a return to the Videodrome era of Cronenberg.
Yeah. Because I think more recently, his stuff wasn't quite as, at least
body
in my recollection,
horror.
Body horror, weird, like non-existent, almost alien sort of objects and forms.
Yeah, he's been doing stuff like Most Dangerous Method or Eastern Promises or like History of Violence, which have the Cronenberg darkness to them, but they don't feel like early Cronenberg,
Yeah.
This feels more like, Videodrome and Dead Ringers and Crash mixed together era Cronenberg.
Yeah, definitely some Dead Ringers in here.
Yeah, definitely some Dead Ringers in here. And here's the thing. I liked this movie. I didn't love it, but it is comfortably upper tier Cronenberg for me. But here's the thing. I wasn't sure how much I liked it until it was over. 30 minutes into it, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this movie at all.
Yeah.
But then as the conversations keep going and the themes of the movie start to really become surface level, I started to really find myself more invested in it than I thought I was going to be. Like the last 40 minutes of this movie flew by for me. Mm-hmm. Once I realized kind of where it was going, what the ideas were, I think there's something here to explore. This idea of fighting against nature for better or worse, it's about us constantly trying to make sense of our environment and shape it to fit us.
Yeah.
And this movie deals with those themes in a really interesting, unique Cronenbergian way. But I didn't love it. So I'll leave it there. Oh, no, actually, one more thing. Interesting performance from Viggo Mortensen. It may be uncomfortable to look at because he's always hacking and closing his throat and making weird guttural noises.
Yeah, it's more difficult to hear than it was to watch.
Yeah, it's bizarre and strange, and I don't know. But man, who takes the cake as far as weird and strange in this movie is Kristen Stewart. She is just going for it, man. I don't know what she's doing.
I don't either. It sometimes feels out of place. But
sometimes, but then also I'm like, well, no, I guess this is very intentional.
Yeah. I don't feel like she, stumbled her way into this choice at all. It's
a choice.
It's something.
But I'll leave it there for now. But interesting ideas on display here. Visually ugly and depressing, as you would expect a Cronenberg movie to feel like. Mm-hmm. I honestly feel like the Videodrome crowd is going to be pretty psyched on this as far as Cronenberg goes, because I feel like it really very much reminds me a lot of his 80s stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about it, was that, if Videodrome is your favorite Cronenberg, this could very well be your second or third favorite.
Or your new favorite, yeah.
Or, well, you could like it more, although I think Videodrome is still better. Yeah.
This definitely seems more indie. Like, his version of the future is very, everyone's living in, dirty buildings. There's no cars or anything. Everyone's just, walking around this beach town or whatever. So it definitely feels like nowhere,
Yeah, there's not a lot of, interconnected world. I don't necessarily have a sense of space of, the city that they're in or the overall environment. We get medium shots of people walking against a wall or down a street, and you get to see the street kind of, or people are meeting up and they're on a beach or something, and you see a third of a boat behind them or something, a big ship.
Yeah, capsized oil ships or something like that, just sort of everywhere. So it looks like it's very far in the future after the world is essentially ended. And humanity has just kept going. But anyway, take over, Justin. What are your thoughts on this movie, and what did you expect from it, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, well, based on the trailer, I expected something pretty dark based on articles and that are, by nature hyperbolic in order to get clicks. I expected some very difficult things to watch because there was a lot of stuff talking about, there's going to be walkouts and people are going to have a tough time even sitting through this screening and not leaving. And I think that's a little overblown, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's a couple moments I think that I could understand would be difficult to watch. I think those moments would be more difficult to watch if they felt more real.
Yeah, if he wasn't in some kind of weird chair that was this made of organic material or something.
Yeah, that and just from a special effects point of view.
Sure.
I'm not sure I felt some of it, and I think that may be by design too, because an element of this world, to my understanding, is that people have evolved to be either extremely desensitized to pain or they just don't feel pain at all.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
That was my understanding as well.
Yeah. So some of that Cronenberg body horror, stuff that can be difficult to watch, kind of just felt a little desensitized to me, or I felt desensitized because of the plot. I was like, well, this isn't painful to them. It's just kind of gross to look at.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, it's weird because it took me a while to really comprehend it, because the first time you see Viggo Mortensen, he's in that weird bed, and he's it's rocking him around, and he's actually groaning in pain. It seems like. Yeah. So
that we'll get into maybe
strange.
that, but that's a section of the movie that I don't quite have an understanding of like that and his weird like eating chair.
Yeah, I didn't understand the concept of the eating chairs. Yeah, the eating chairs popped up a couple times, and I was like, "What? Why? What is the?"
Yeah,
just like shakes you around and bangs you in the head while you try to eat food. How does this help?
Yeah, I don't know. But I guess I say that to say that, you know, I don't think I was nearly as weirded out or grossed out or offended or, you know,
Yeah, nothing
off.
got me in this movie as much as the Rosanna Arquette scar scene in Crash.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that said, you know, Cronenberg movies, I think we've said this during our Dead Ringers episode. I think we said it during Crash, but like they're way more fun to think about after the fact and to talk about.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm with you that like after the movie's over and you're really thinking back, there's a lot more to like and a lot more to enjoy than actually sitting through the movie for me.
Yeah, like whenever you think back about all of Viggo Mortensen's little ninja poses when he's like hanging out in like a dark corner with his little hood on and his little mask.
Yeah, Ninja Viggo Mortensen is pretty cool.
But seriously, there are so many times in this movie where I was like, why this outfit, Viggo Mortensen? Like, why are you... It looked like he's like a little like a little Foot Clan from the Ninja Turtles sitting in the corner watching performance art.
Foot Clan is a very accurate decision. You know, I think our description, not decision, but I don't know if I quite put this together that until we were reading the IMDb synopsis earlier, but it says celebrity performance artist. Like I knew he was popular in kind of an underground way, but maybe it's an anonymous.
Well, everyone seems to recognize him anyway.
Yeah, that's true. But oh well.
Yeah.
I think like I do find it like from a sci-fi perspective, like this world where humans are no longer feeling pain, and a big theme in Cronenberg.
And little boys are eating trash cans.
Little boys are eating trash cans. That's what my intro was about. Which is another thing they've adapted to, or at least they're working on adapting like humans to be able to ingest like synthetic things like plastic and stuff.
Yeah, but that's a conversation best left for spoilers, I think.
Yeah. And yeah. So, you know, sex and pain and the line between sex and pain is a huge theme in Cronenberg's work. And I think that is in your face on the forefront of this movie and what it's talking about.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said in last week's episode for Crash, this idea that intimacy and sex, that intimacy that comes with sex, it can be anything in a Cronenberg movie.
Yeah. And we don't have to get into it because I guess it is another spoilery thing, but that may not be truer than in this movie and in Crash.
Yeah. They come out and say as much.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool looking movie. It's dark. I like the environments that we're in. Just my curiosity towards sci-fi stuff, like more world is cooler to me. You know, like the opening shot of this movie shows us a thing, like a construction, a building maybe, or whatever that like I'm not sure we get much more of. And so like it did leave me wanting more of the world around everything going on because it's pretty focused in.
It reminded me of a science fiction film in the vein of the French New Wave, like Alphaville or something, where it's like they're trying to portray this like science fiction world and these science fiction ideas, but the budget is extremely small and the scope of the movie is only a few characters and it's extremely small. Mm-hmm. So it's just a lot of people in rooms talking.
Yeah.
You know, and they try to do the most with that. It's not like a movie where like you get to see a lot of city landscapes and then you drive by to see what the technology they're using is. It seems very much just this sort of slow, like you have to just kind of take it at their word that there's a big world out there full of people that are doing stuff.
Yeah, true. And I think not only in camera, but I think we're very much focused in on this world, this art, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I just found myself interested in like what, a bit like Children of Men, right? Like it introduces this world where women can no longer get pregnant, and how does that affect everything on like a wider scope?
Right.
And maybe I'm just wanting a different movie, and that's not really a fault.
Yeah,
of this
that's what
movie,
I'm saying. It's like this is more like Alphaville than it is like Children of Men or Blade Runner,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not the movie's fault, and I don't think it's a negative thing of the movie to present me an idea that makes me interested and curious about the world. Like, I think that's a good thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think what he tries to do here is he tries to bypass your typical, like, what do cars look like? What do cell phones look like?
Right.
What goofy clothes is everyone wearing? Like, the other day I was watching Her from Spike Jonze,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yep, this movie is trying really hard to portray like a future that we could have accurately, or like we could have predicted in like 2013, when the movie was made.
Yeah.
This movie is trying to predict no such future. Like I said, Children of Men, Blade Runner, it is not. It is very much people living in what essentially looks like a third world country.
Yeah.
Just like no fresh paint jobs. Like no one seems to be cleaning anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of like people have conversations in front of the ocean and in front of rocks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say we can move on, but I was really into the score.
Oh yeah,
Like, it's a score that just from I think I watched about 2/3 of the trailer once and was like, okay, I've seen enough,
Mm-hmm.
But even from that, the sort of score was stuck in my head, I guess, because when it kept coming up, like this sort of like main theme kept coming up in this movie, it was really familiar to me and like really, really got like stuck in my head. I thought it was really cool. It's kind of Blade Runner-y sci-fi, but moody and dark.
Yeah, moody for sure. Everything about this movie is moody.
Yeah. But I don't know. I like a good sci-fi score and what people do with that,
Sure, yeah. I don't remember the score myself, but I don't. Yeah, so I don't really have any comment, I guess.
More Blade Runner-y, like not like tones and like a little bit of like a 3-tone melody.
Yeah, I feel like I can remember the music from the trailer, and so it's probably just an extension of that.
I think so. But yeah, do you have anything else before we move into spoilers?
No, I don't think so. If you're a Cronenberg fan, I think you're going to like this movie.
Yes. And
End of the day.
And my God, if you're not a Cronenberg fan,
Give it a shot. See if you like the movie.
Yeah, give it a shot, but I don't think you're going to like it because I think you text me when you finish watching it and you're like, well, that was absolutely a Cronenberg movie. And I'm like, yep.
Yeah, it's the Cronenbergiest movie that he's come out with in a while.
Yeah. So into spoilers?
Into spoilers we go.
No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
Any more cigarettes you got up there? I'll tell you all about it.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
And here we go.
You kind of alluded to this idea that there is a certain element of the world that is trying to progress humanity to be able to evolve into the next step of everything, and to be able to like ingest plastic and this waste that we've created for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start there. The opening scene of the movie, you see this little boy eating a bathroom trash can, like a little wastebasket, and he's munching on it like it's peanut brittle or something.
Yeah, and I thought of The Fly a little bit because he has that like white saliva, like thick, gross saliva that kind of comes out. Seems like it's part of breaking down, a bit like the
plastics.
Fly.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like you the mom calls him like a little creature or a little monster, and suffocates him with a pillow. Mm-hmm. And so the first little bit of the movie, you're really trying to like get your bearings of like, what is this B plot with this son of this Scott Speedman character? Mm-hmm. Like, what is going on? And like, why is he eating this purple bar all the time?
Yeah.
And it's to the point to where there are so many questions at the beginning that I found myself becoming annoyed very quickly.
Yeah, I thought that this was going to be a movie at a certain point. I was like, this isn't going to really explain anything to me, and I'm going to have to just theorize about it all.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, oh man, come on! I wanted a little bit more of a through thread. I don't want to just piece a bunch of disparate things together at the end of this movie. And luckily, it all came back and tied together in a way that I think wraps everything up in a nice, neat bow.
Yeah.
For the ideas, but
that's what
were your thoughts?
The purple candy bar thing was synthetic material. That's why like the one guy who picks it up and eats it, he can't digest it and it kills him, right?
Yeah, pretty quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. But yeah,
it's like eating a bleach bar or something.
Yeah, and the mother's reaction, I think to the son being able to digest, and he is not able to do that naturally, right? Like that is something that he is altered to do.
See, no, I don't think so. I took that as that was the first human that they know of who was born to be able to do that naturally.
Oh, right. But was it the dad that was altered to be able to do that? Was it Scott Speedman?
Yeah, Scott Speedman had surgeries done to him that in turn allowed him to create the first human that could do that naturally.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is. Yeah, I got
and
my
that's what they were all working towards.
Yeah, so wires crossed a little bit, but yeah. So, I don't know if this is more sort of like sci-fi as like literally taking it like a cautionary tale that where like people are going to be afraid when humans start to adapt. They're going to like turn on the humans that are adapting as being like unnatural, or if it's like this more like metaphorical to like things that, people see as like, as humans make progress, whether it be like sexual identity or gender fluidity or different genders and that sort of thing. Like, as those changes come, people like are very angry at them and reject them. And I kind of saw the mother that's how she is towards the son. Like, it's kind of like, what are you? You're unnatural. I don't want you around.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's this idea that once, or, for a more on the nose comparison, like X-Men, right?
Right.
It's like once people start mutating in a very obvious way, and then everyone else realizes that person can do things and withstand things that we cannot, that's scary to us in its very nature. It's like this idea that something can eat plastic and survive on plastic.
Yeah.
And then normal food sickens it. You compared it to like the gender fluidity. Like there are some people who view gender and sexual identity as like very much the same thing.
Yeah.
And then there are some people who don't. and to the people who can't see it that way, I imagine it's very difficult to comprehend the fact where the world's going right now.
Yeah. You feel like it's like destroying nature or everything that you know, right?
Right.
And,
like, down is up and up is down, and nothing makes sense anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it would be like that, but with like everybody, because it's like, what if, because like from the dawn of time, like even like we have more in common with a sea turtle than we would with like a human that can eat plastic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand why that would be extremely rejected and why they would have to like make a statement like they're trying to make in this movie.
Yeah, and I think that also gets into like Kristen Stewart's job and whatever her boss's name was, or whoever he was, coworker. Whippet, I believe was his name, according to IMDb. But they they work for like the human organ registry. Yeah, which is it's registering organs that are new and new mutations, right?
Right.
So just sort of like, did you take that as as something a bit more like, registering those people because it's weird and it's crazy, or more scientific?
I think the ambiguity is kind of the point.
Okay.
I think you're supposed to be thinking of like, this is some Big Brother stuff, but also equally you have someone like Kristen Stewart's character who is just like this weaselly little nerd who seems to be genuinely fascinated by this, Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I was torn between like, wait, is this? They seem to be genuinely interested, but it does feel like government tracking to like, like putting people on a, potential terrorist list or something.
Right. Well, yeah, like, and also, we know later on he tries to recruit Viggo Mortensen to sort of spy on these people. And, so I think it's very much like they're a bunch of radicals. The government kind of knows what's going on, even if Viggo Mortensen and the everyman doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, yeah, there's definitely an element of it that's like, let's learn what these organs are, and then the people that are capable of growing them, and they are going to be people of interest to us, because I think they're pretty much aware of what Scott Speedman is doing, because they thwart his plans.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. But that whole concept is really fascinating, this idea that if Viggo Mortensen just let his body do its thing, like, what would really happen to him,
Yeah, and I like that we have the people that are like, why are you? I think it's Scott Speedman's character who's like, why are you rejecting this beautiful thing that your body's doing by evolving? Like, that's a terrible thing that you're doing.
Yeah. It goes against what your body's trying to become.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to control what will be, like we always try to do as a species.
Yeah. And what do you make of him? I would say profiting off of it. I'm not sure that there's like a concrete profit that we see in the movie, but he's doing these performance arts where they cut it out of him, live in like the autopsy machine or former
right,
autopsy machine.
The little autopsy machine with like a little turtle brain remote control or whatever it is. I don't know.
That thing is so weird. Like
it's kind of stupid. Like
it is
a little bit.
I have to let that go. Like I have to try.
Yeah.
Like my brain wants to figure that out. Like how's this working? And
the answer is it just looks stupid. And
yeah.
Well, it doesn't look. I mean, I don't. It doesn't look stupid. It looks very Cronenberg-y, but the way it controls. Yeah. It's just like a bunch of lights. I don't know. Looks like a kid's toy whenever it's all lit up.
And there's no way that like their finger movements and the things that they're doing would like cause the arms and scalpels and mechanisms of that machine to do what it does.
Right. Exactly. It's just sort of silly.
Yeah. So you have to accept it, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's the same with the chairs and the little bed that he's in.
Yeah, that's fair. That you have to accept that, like, yep, you can't figure it out, but just trust like that's what these
everything
things are for.
Like their tools that they use for surgery and sleeping and sitting all for some reason look like they're organic.
Yeah,
and it's never really going to be explained, and that's just sort of the point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, this idea that they kind of discussed it in the movie, this idea that he creates a performance art of it because he can't control what's happening to his body, but he can control how he handles it. So I think the performance art allows him to feel like he's deriving some sort of meaning out of what's happening to his body.
Yeah. And is it a pornographic art show? Because I started thinking about this because they very clearly state at a certain point in the movie that like surgery is the new sex, or we see people like cutting each other.
I think it is, in the sense that people are so desensitized to pain, and he's obviously experiencing pain when this is going on.
is he, or is he's in pain as a general person?
Yeah, I guess so. I took it as whenever the organs are getting removed, that's probably the most intense pain he feels, and then it's probably over pretty quickly.
Yeah. I felt like the pain that he was feeling was coming from like it was more internal pain, like
from rejecting
pain,
what he's becoming.
Yeah, like growing pains / like, you know, pains that you would go see a chiropractor for.
Well, and he's like, also eating food that is essentially poison to him.
Yeah. And
he just doesn't know that.
Yeah, they say that chair is supposed to like create like the most comfortable digestion, or like the best digestion for him or whatever. And so it's like, it seems like that's painful, like with his throat, and like, but like the cutting itself, the surgery itself, because there's no hint of like anesthetic or whatever, but like the surgery itself, I never felt like that was causing anybody pain to me.
See, I disagree. I feel like that's why everyone's doing it so much, is because they'll feel a little bit of pain. So like pain has become the new pleasure, right? That's why Kristen Stewart's like, surgery is the new sex. I want you to be cutting into me. And the reason is because I don't think they can feel pleasure the same way they used to, because they can't feel pain. So pain is the new coveted feeling.
Okay, yeah. It's a little bit of pain, right? Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and that's why everyone's always cutting into each other in the alleyways. Yeah, and like cutting their faces all up. It's like because they can feel a little bit of pain when it's happening, and they want that to be as like sensual and whatever as possible, you know?
Yeah, it's like it's almost it's happening on the street, like in the same way that like you might have a couple making out in the
alleyway or whatever. Yeah. He's like, oh, look, you cut into my calf, please.
Yeah. Which, you know, the line between sex and pain is obviously very apparent there, but you know, I was kind of thinking along the lines too of like, you know, how, like in terms of sex, you become desensitized to like content the more you're in it, and like, you know, you have to, or like, you know, like it does the really like dark fetishes, you don't ever really like just arrive there. I think it's like I'm assuming it's like you go down a rabbit hole and you kind of go further and further.
Well, if Crash told us anything, I think that's true.
If what?
If Crash taught us anything, I think that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you eventually become dissatisfied and need something like further, you know?
Right.
So I took that out of like a lot of that too. I don't know what it's saying about that necessarily. It's just
humans, man.
Commenting. Then sometimes that's how Cronenberg feels to me. It's like I never really know what to take away from it, but I'm just kind of watching a portrayal of an idea, or something kind of being shown like a bit more like I'm observing it rather than like getting taught something.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he doesn't seem interested in judging his characters.
No.
Ever, really. I don't even get the sense that like people that might be portrayed as villains in this movie are portrayed as villains, right? Like I don't think there's any villains. Like I don't think the mother that smothered her little, from what she perceived to be, monster child. Mm-hmm. I don't think Cronenberg is casting any judgment on her either, you know? I think it's portraying this idea that whenever the next step of whatever comes next for us is presented to us, that there's just going to be a large section of people that just reject it to its very core, right? It's you know, the reference I made earlier about how some people look at this gender fluidity stuff going on now and they just think it breaks society, which I don't think is true, and I don't think a lot of people think is true. I assume you don't.
No, I'm with you.
But to some people, their reality is very much based on the understanding of this is how the world works, you know?
Yeah.
And when something breaks that perception, they get violent, they get angry.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, you could say like climate change fits into that same category too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that like people just don't want to happen and they think that they can fight against it.
Yeah. So the two two women, or the two, I get they're like repair people at first.
Oh yeah, these women.
They show up to help him, recalibrate his bed because
and then they hang out with Léa Seydoux for a while and like
they're
naked
fascinated
in the bed.
They're fascinated by the autopsy machine because it's old and out of date, and
it was out of print or out of manufacturing by the time they were born.
Yeah, so it's just this old relic, and then it's like really cool. But obviously, you mentioned earlier that the government is aware of the guy's plot of Scott Speedman and stuff, and because they assassinate him in the end, right?
Yeah.
So they're undercover.
Well, they also assassinated that one dude in the chair too. He was just trying to eat his breakfast, and he's like, "I'm eating breakfast now," and they're like, "This is the perfect time."
Oh yeah.
And then they messed with his chair, and his chair kept hitting him in the head, and he just died. Which I didn't follow that element of it. I don't remember who that guy was.
I don't think so either. I know Viggo Mortensen goes to visit him at some point, but I kind of lost. There's a lot that goes on in this movie.
Yeah, I think it's something that I would benefit from seeing again. I just don't know that when I'm going to want to.
Yeah, that's always my issue with Cronenberg, I think, is wanting to watch one of his movies again.
Because you're going to like it better the second time. That's always the case that we've learned about him.
I always have. Because I did not like Dead Ringers at all. And I also didn't really like Crash. I was middle of the road on Crash, but in watching it again, I was slightly more positive. I found more in it, and Dead Ringers especially. Dead Ringers moved me from not liking the film to middle of the road on the film, which isn't a huge difference, but
it is a difference.
Yeah. And I think other times that I've watched Cronenberg or rewatched it, it's been to show someone else, check out this wild movie.
Yeah.
That's the most often I've found myself rewatching or wanting to rewatch Cronenberg so that someone else can experience it.
Yeah. I think I had to show, I think I showed you A History of Violence, and that was my excuse to watch that one again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think we showed somebody in college and film school, we wanted to show them Videodrome for a similar reason. Mm-hmm. And I think I was excited about Dead Ringers when we did it on the podcast because Chris hadn't seen it.
Oh yeah, that's right. I need to go back and listen to that episode and kind of brush up some of my thoughts and see how they compare with these last two Cronenberg episodes that we've been doing.
Yeah, I know Chris didn't like it, but that's fair, I think, for a first viewing of that movie.
Yeah, we should act real snobby and be like, well, that makes sense. It's your first time.
I think we did.
Sounds like us.
But this one, I think this one's a bit more immediately likable, and it's immediately more interesting to talk about and to think about.
I think it's easier to wrap your brain around because the themes are a little bit more tied together in a way. Because remember what I said earlier, at the beginning of this movie, I was scared it was just going to be a bunch of disparate stuff that I would kind of have to piece together.
Uh-huh.
But it's not. It's the little boy's murder at the beginning proved to have a point, which was good because I didn't really like seeing that. The purple candy bars, the Scott Speedman just being shifty in the background, all of it came and tied together into a way by the end of it to where all characters are doing something or working towards something in the final act to where, I don't know, it was interesting to me. Yeah. I was on board for it. It was watchable.
Yeah. And one thing, the final act is when they do the autopsy on the kid.
Yeah.
They reveal I was bummed.
I was bummed for Scott Speedman. I wanted to see.
Yeah. So maybe explain that because I'm not sure that I quite wrap my head around
Kristen Stewart got to it.
Yeah. Kristen Stewart was the one that tattooed the organs, right?
Right. She got to it and sort of, basically made it to where it wasn't the raw, natural human that Scott Speedman was wanting to be his manifesto or whatever, It was tampered with. It was all tattooed up and yeah. So I don't know. The only thing that you really got to see inside of there was there's a little bit of green skin on the inside where there would normally be pink or red for us.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I don't think we got a good indication of what the insides of that kid, aka the next step of humanity, actually looked like. We weren't able to map it.
Is it because it being tampered with, something might have been missing?
I wasn't completely sure like what she did to it, but all I know is Kristen Stewart got to it on government's orders to try and diffuse the situation. So, I'm not sure exactly, like, I don't know if she replaced them or just tattooed them or what, but it was supposed to be this unveiling of the next evolution of humanity, and it ended up being what it was, I guess.
Maybe just, and I'm kind of figuring this out as we're talking, so this could be really, really wrong, but just the fact that it has been tattooed means that someone's been in there and it's been tampered with. So therefore, there's no reason to believe that this was natural. Like they cast reasonable doubt that they were born that way, or that they haven't been altered in some way. Right,
exactly. Because Scott Speedman character and like the other Purple Eaters, they all had like surgeries to optimize their changes,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if they ended up getting like normal organs removed and just letting the other organs grow in. I'm not sure what the process was, but he said they found out the right combination to make it happen finally.
Yeah.
And they had been working on doing that. So that's what I took it, the whole ending as, was that, it's like, I've discovered a new world. Oh, wait, there's people already living here,
Yeah. That makes sense. I like it.
And then he got drills in the back of the head, which seemed overly violent, but
yeah, that was brutal.
Like, you could have just shot him or stabbed him, but all right.
Yeah. I remember thinking that it felt necessary. For some reason, maybe just because he was like a not quite human. Maybe it was just a way of like ensuring.
Scramble the brains. We don't know what's going to kill this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, that's kind of how I felt about it, but I don't know if that's right.
Yeah. Who knows where his new heart is?
Yeah, that's true. Okay. I don't think I have anything else about this movie.
No, I don't think so either. I liked it.
It's
not a movie that I could recommend to very many people, though.
No, not at all. It's for a select few, like probably anybody who faithfully listens to this podcast. I don't know. There's like a ton of people that do that, but those who do probably would be into it.
Yeah, I would guess so. If you like the idea of a Criterion Collection film, I can see this being in there one day, as per other Cronenberg movies.
Yeah, not that we have to discuss that too much, but I think this almost feels like, does this feel different enough, I guess, like from the things that are already in Criterion from Cronenberg, like Videodrome and Scanners and Naked Lunch and Dead Ringers? Or does this feel a bit rehash? Like a bit like, because I felt that way a bit from the trailer. Like I was worried that the movie would end up being Cronenberg trying to revisit the hits.
If he did, it's assembled and manufactured in a way to where I enjoy it. I don't think, when watching the movie, I didn't get rehash vibes. Maybe some of the aesthetic in his style, with like the chairs and the bed and the remote
tools,
control.
The tools are very similar to like the like strange set of gynecology tools that Jeremy Irons has in Dead Ringers. Yeah.
And in some of the more like organic, gross out body horror from Naked Lunch. But no, I don't think ideas wise, I don't think it's treading the same water. I mean, there's definitely themes like, like we mentioned earlier, like the sex and intimacy and pain and all that stuff that's just a Cronenberg staple, all those things being explored. But I wouldn't call that rehashing.
Okay.
Necessarily. Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think I was worried it was going to feel a bit more rehashy than it did, because it did feel like, somewhere between Dead Ringers and Crash and maybe Naked Lunch based on the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think it's quite that. I think it being its own sort of like sci-fi world gives it something different. Like it's more sci-fi than those. Those are just like weird sci-fi elements that exist in like the Earth as we know it, to my recollection.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's got a different backdrop enough.
I like to think this is the same universe as The Fly, but just in the future.
I hope so. Maybe Jeff
too.
Goldblum will come back in the sequel, much like
we'll see him running
Jurassic
around.
World. All right. tying everything together. I think that's a good place to end it.
All right. Well, anything else we need to talk about today? I think we already mentioned what our next episode is going to be.
Yeah, we did. So I guess all that's left is thanking the listener for listening and Jake Wagner Russell for doing our intro and outro music. People can find more of his music at soundcloud.com/bopscotch.
All right. Then I guess after that, all that's left to do is hang up.
You're not even going to say bye? You're just going to hang up? That's rude.
Yeah, well, bye, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. Bye-bye.
Yeah.